I am super excited to introduce to you today Miss Holly O'Hanlon, who also is serving on the board of directors for ICF Minnesota. And let me give you a proper introduction to Holly. Holly O'Hanlon is a leadership and well-being coach whose passion is helping women take leadership of their work, wellness, and lives through self-reflection and courageous action. After spending 15 years in the corporate marketing space, she took a courageous leap and transitioned into leadership and well-being coaching by becoming a board-certified health and wellness coach and trained executive coach. She now partners with leaders to connect leadership and well-being in order to show up more fully in all facets of their life. Welcome, Holly.
Thank you, Jen. So good to be here.
Yeah, so excited to have you featured for this month's Meet the Coach. Now, I did have a few questions prepared for you if you're ready to jump right into those.
I am ready.
Perfect. And just to let you all know, my name is Jenn Espinosa-Goswami, and I'm the communications co-chair for ICF Minnesota. I will be the one who's facilitating these conversations, so feel free to reach out to me if you would like to be featured in an upcoming Catalyst newsletter. All right, so Holly, what brought you to coaching?
Oh, when I was thinking about this question, it's very loaded. A lot brought me to coaching. So a few things. One, when I was in the corporate space, I did lead a team, and I really appreciated leading the team. I appreciated and loved supporting them and figuring out how they wanted to grow, what their interests were. And then I also recognized the need in myself and others that I worked with of just more well-being in the workplace. I felt like it was a pretty big gap, and this was years ago. And I also had in my personal life had a passion for health and wellness and just trying to keep myself in a space of well-being so I could show up at work. And so ultimately, between those two things, loving developing my team and also trying to figure out like, how can we bring well-being into leadership and into the workplace so that we can all show up in feeling better, and also being able to really provide well-being to the people at work. So between all of that, I started looking into what coaching really was. I hired a coach myself, and from there decided to make the leap, because the other piece was it was super fast paced. I had 2 small children. I was burnt out, and I really wanted to figure out, how can I have more meaningful conversations and also help people on their leadership and well-being journey, and maybe help organizations bring well-being into their leadership and cultures. So that's kind of a lot came into play in switching careers, but I'm so thankful that I'm on the other side of it. I love it.
Awesome. And I love hearing more about how you combine elements of well-being, which is so important these days with all the burnout and the great resignation, but you're also supporting those within leadership positions who perhaps feel more of the pressure of being within a leadership position. So tell me a little bit more about who you work with. Who is your ideal client?
Yes. So I work mainly with women leaders, and I work with them to I work with a lot of women who really love to be leaders. They love work. They want to grow in their career, and they want to feel good doing it. And so that's where, we're in February of 2022. So we've all been through a couple of hard years with the pandemic. And unfortunately, it took that for a lot of us and organizations to recognize the need for well-being. So I work with women leaders who really want to take their leadership to the next level and feel good, and recognize that well-being is a really big part of how we show up as leaders and how we show up as people. Because when we're not taking care of ourselves, it's really hard to continue to take care of others, to show up the way we want to show up, especially during hard times, especially during uncertain times. And so that's my who I usually serve. I do a lot of facilitation around Brene Brown's Dare to Lead, program. So that is men and women, and it's a very diverse group of leaders who we take through that program. And it's the same concept. It's really digging deep into how you're showing up already and what you need to do to take care of yourself, so you can show up as the kind of leader and person that you want to in your personal life and in the workspace.
That sounds so wonderful. And I'm somewhat familiar with Brene Brown's Dare to Lead program. So that sounds like a really exciting addition to the type of coaching tools you utilize with your clients. I'm just curious, because I came from the health space personally. I'm just curious to you, how would you define well-being? Because I know there are different definitions and ideas of what that includes. So I'd really love to hear what well-being means to you.
Yeah, to me, so that's an interesting question, because the way I work with around well-being with my clients is I have them define it for themselves, because there are so many definitions out there of what well-being means, and none of them are bad or good or anything. They just are. And when we can put it into our own words, it can be so much more powerful. So for me, well-being means I have energy, I feel strong, I feel lighthearted. Even in hard times, I find places where I can laugh and not feel so serious all the time. Security is, and that I define that in a certain way, and other people might define it differently. As coaches, we know the power of words and defining those. But secure, and I'm trying to think of my other words around well-being. Grateful. So really being able to continue to have that perspective of gratitude, even during, tumultuous times. So I define it with a lot of different words, but really it's just like when I can show up and feel good, feel grounded, and grateful. That's how I feel that's when I feel well.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that you, as a proper coach, you have your clients define it, because that's part of the journey. They have to have that discovery piece of it as well. So I love that you turned it around, true to coaching nature. So that's a good way to say
exactly.
It's whatever you want it to be, and whoever it is I'm working with, because that's the truth, right? We can't just impose our definitions on the clients that we serve. So I love that you took it to that place right there. One of the things that came through for me when you said that you like to work with leaders, especially some of the research I was doing for some of the seminars I produced for different companies within the Twin Cities here, is there is a lot of loneliness among leaders that I've seen and heard. And I also know other people in leadership positions, and they are feeling the crunch perhaps a little bit more than their team members. And I've read studies that they're dedicating more time, especially during the pandemic, to the tasks, all the things that need to happen, all the things that are being expected of them. So what have you been discovering in your work with coaching clients about being lonely as a leader?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I would agree. I think it depends on the leadership role you have. And I define, I think leadership is a pretty broad term. But I do work with people who are, at the top or leading a team, and they feel like I am so responsible for so much, and there's so much to do. And so there's a real feeling of not only am I alone, which when we start working, especially in the cohorts together, but even in just one-on-one coaching, they soon realize they're not alone. It's just making those connections, right? So, but they feel alone and they feel just overloaded, like I can't get all this work done. And so one of the things that I think has been really powerful in how I've seen leaders shift is really starting to tend to the vulnerability of their team and themselves, and tend to the emotions that are underlying the way we're showing up. And it feels, especially I think in the workplace, and I'm making an assumption, but I think it feels like that just takes away from the doing. Yet when we are able to tend to our emotions and recognize each other as humans, it can really build trust. It can build that sense of community. So I'm not alone, even though I'm the leader, I'm supposed to know it all. So I think that's the other thing that comes into leadership, is like, I have to know everything. And when we can really like treat each other and connect with each other as humans and understand the underlying emotions behind things, it can make leaders feel like they're not alone. and that they, they can do what they need to do in a way that feels good.
Yeah, ultimately, if it doesn't feel good, why would we do it to begin with? So I love that you brought that up as well. And that important element of vulnerability. I think sometimes vulnerability has gotten a bum rap, or that certain people should be more vulnerable than others, or are allowed or permitted, whatever wording you want to use around that. So I love that you bring that up, as that's an important element of that connection and feeling like you're part of communities. So thank you for sharing that. You mentioned that one of the ways you assist clients is through the Dare to Lead program. What are some other tools, books, or resources that you particularly lean upon when you're supporting your clients?
Yeah, I had to think about this question. So yeah, Dare to Lead is one. Another one that I bring into my coaching is positive intelligence, which I know a lot of other coaches have been a part of. I find that naming the saboteurs and having clients name their saboteurs can be really helpful, of just bringing awareness more quickly of how we get in our own way. And then I also use a feedback tool called Shift Positive 360. And that tool is really based upon it's steeped in positive psychology and building the human system. So like, how can we all support each other in a leader's growth? How can we support each other in our goals and our development, versus like, here are your gaps, good luck filling them. Right? Taking this approach of, here are your strengths, here's what you can do even better, and here's how I'm going to commit to supporting you in that journey. And so those are the three main tools that I use. I'd say, as far as like my coach approach, I use a lot of positive psychology and strengths-based coaching. Motivational interviewing is big in the health and wellness space. So I bring some of that into play as well. Just, when hasn't it been a problem? When have you been successful in this endeavor before? How can you leverage your strengths to confront this challenge or get through this challenge? So that's what a lot of my clients will notice.
Awesome. And I think the tools you mentioned, I just want to recap, because I think I might have missed one, was positive intelligence. What's the other one called? Shift 360?
Shift Positive 360.
Shift Positive 360. And then other coaching philosophy and processes, motivational interviewing, and things that might be one of the competencies you'll see on the ICF global website.
Yes.
Wonderful. Yeah. It's always helpful to know, especially when people have multiple competencies they're drawing from as coaches, like whether it's wellness or health, and then they're shifting into a leadership space. Some of the tools we use will also shift, and we're always growing and developing as coaches. So it's nice to know what tools you like to use to help you assist your clients. Now, the next question has to do with ICF Minnesota. How long have you been a member there?
Well, so I was a member for about a year when I first started. I think I was still in training. I was going through my education. And so that was a few years ago. I was a member, and that was really helpful to just, start a new network and start meeting people and continuing to learn about the field of coaching and coaching practices. And then I most recently just joined this summer, or probably fall, when I joined the board.
Wonderful. And for those of you who haven't looked at our website, ICF Minnesota, Holly is serving as our treasurer of the board. She just started her term, and we all serve 2-year terms. So excited to have you on the board, Holly, and to experience your leadership firsthand on ICF Minnesota. So thank you for your support and for serving. What is one thing that you think people, let's go here. First of all, how do people connect with you? Where do you like to hang out? Do you have a website or anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, so I am most active on LinkedIn. So you can connect with me, Holly O'Hanlon, on LinkedIn. And then I'm also really active on Instagram. And that my handle is I am Coach Holly on Instagram. So I would love to see you.
All right. And anyone who's looking at the show notes below this interview, you will see those links out there. Make sure you connect with Holly. If she said something that resonated with you, she's available for you to reach out to, even if you just want to have a coffee or a collaboration or chat with her about her philosophy and her coaching work.
I would
Instagram and LinkedIn is where it's at. And is there any program or service that you're launching or ramping up this year that you're super excited about?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So I do mostly one-on-one coaching. And so I'm always, I still have some space for clients. So one-on-one coaching, I typically do 6-month packages with my clients. And then I also, we have I do the Dare to Lead work with a couple of other coaches, and we have a cohort starting in April coming up. So we have a new cohort. If anyone's interested, would be happy to have a conversation about it. But those are the big things in the hopper right now.
I'm going to have to check those things out. It sounds like a lot of exciting things happening, and glad to know that you're still accepting clients. You know, we never know whether someone is fully booked. So definitely connect with Holly if you want to learn more about her. So I would love to kind of wrap up today's Meet the Coach interview with 3 things. 3 things you would like to share with us here at ICF and the greater world, because this is very public, but 3 things you would like to share with us about you that we can't find on your website or can't find on your social media.
Oh gosh, I don't feel like this was part of the preparation. All right, 3 things about me that you won't find on my social media. Let's see. Well, you won't find this because it hasn't been happening very much, but, and I don't know how exciting this is, but I love to travel. I have been to several countries. In fact, today I was on a workshop, and one of the questions was, what is the most uncommon, I can't remember the word, food that you've ever eaten? And it brought me back to when I lived in Australia for a little bit and was traveling through the outback with a group, and we had kangaroo for dinner. So it was just kind of an interesting, like, oh, they're right there and we're going to eat them. And so it was just kind of odd. So there's one thing.
Does it taste like chicken?
It basically did. Yeah, it was fine. It was fine. So that's one odd fact about me. I am left-handed, which is somewhat uncommon. And my husband and I really enjoy paragliding whenever we travel. So running off a mountain with a parachute.
Wow, off a mountain. When I think of paragliding, I think of being on the water. Is that different?
That's parasailing.
Paragliding
off of a mountain. Yes. Yes, I like parasailing too. But yeah. So we've done that in a couple of spots and hope to continue in various places.
Wow. So kangaroo, paragliding, and what was the second one? I missed.
And I'm left-handed. I don't know how weird that is, but yeah.
You know, a factoid I found out about left-handed people is they're most likely to become president.
Oh, not on my radar, but interesting.
Yes. So lefties unite. If you're a lefty, make sure you raise your hand or say hi in the comments, because we'd love to see more from our other left-handed folks out there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Holly, thank you so much for being here for ICF Minnesota's Meet the Coach. If you are interested in connecting with ICF Minnesota, we do have monthly events. Most of our events are continuing to be virtual, given the state of the world we're in right now. We do have quarterly webinars that are during the noon hour. Otherwise, our events are typically 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And yes, they are open to both people within the chapter. Non-members are also welcome to attend, and you do not need to be a certified coach to attend any of our events. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions, but we have events every month. Make sure you check out our website, and I'll link it down below in the description of today's video. Holly, is there anything else you want to leave us with today?
No, this has been very enjoyable. So thank you for the opportunity. And I hope to see people at the ICF events. They're going to be fun this year, and we're working hard to give some good quality programming. So we hope to see you.
Absolutely. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you at next month's Meet the Coach. This is Jen. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.